Experience total freedom of choice in Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, the ultimate military shooter set in a massive open world setting. The Santa Blanca drug cartel has transformed the beautiful South American country of Bolivia into a perilous narco state, leading to lawlessness, fear, and rampant violence. With their corrosive influence growing, the cartel plagues the citizens of Bolivia, but all hope is not lost. The Ghost, an elite U.S. Special Forces team, are tasked to combat the cartel and save the country from collapse. You decide how to play, and every decision affects the world around you. Exotic Grunt here, bringing you our review of Ghost Recon Wildlands. Our reviewer will be Typical Nipple 16. So, Typical Nipple 16, what are some of your general thoughts on Ghost Recon?
Real quick, the game is a lot of fun. It is certainly a game that's made to be played with your friends and or people you know or people you meet online, whoever, but people that you can actually communicate with. It's not to say that you'll have a bad experience playing by yourself, because it still is a fun game. Its core mechanics are done really well, and I think personally it's one of the better Tom Clancy games that have been made recently. However, there are some flaws, things like the lack of a loot-based reward system makes it difficult for replayability issues. Some missions and side missions can feel somewhat repetitive, but still interesting. And a positive thing, though, is that the overall backstory of Bolivia is huge, and there's a huge complex kind of dynamic system working, and how the smuggling trade network of the Santa Blanca cartel fits in and works with kind of the public relations aspect of it, and how it all ties in with El Sueño. It's really interesting how that works, and how many of these kind of drug lords that you go to fight to get to El Sueño. But there are some issues that I have with the terms of progression and getting to fighting El Sueño that we'll kind of discuss in more detail as we go on. But general thoughts are that it's a really good game so far. I've had a lot of fun playing it. I haven't finished the game yet, but I will touch more on why I still feel ready to review it once we start talking more about the game in specifics. So, if you...
Alright, so my first question is, you and me are both, I would say we're fans of The Division.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy playing it.
Yeah.
Always get kind of back into it when a new DLC comes out.
Yeah.
And so my question is, how would Ghost Recon be affected with a loot-based system like The Division? Because I personally think having something like that would add a lot of replayability to it, in a general sense that you're always getting better weapons and stuff, because they have it scattered throughout the map, but it's it's different.
Yeah, and like you said, it's scattered throughout the map, and I don't. Well, at first I was really a fan of it, the idea that you could go and earn your weapons, but then I realized there are some loopholes to that, and it's kind of actually easy to get those, and you don't have to kill anybody to get them. For example, we started out and we were a level, I think, 5, and we took a helicopter
all the way to the north of the map.
Flew into the north of the map in like a Skull 5 zone, and you start out in a Skull 1 zone. It goes all the way to 5. So this place was the hardest, and not to mention it was a Unidad patrol area, which I personally think are even more difficult fighting them than the Santa Blanca.
Yeah.
A lot more frequent reinforcements. But anyways, and so we took a helicopter and we flew into a Unidad base, and we dropped in, grabbed the ACR, and then got out. And we didn't finish the actual base. We didn't complete it.
You pieced.
But we had the best weapon in the game by level 5, at least assault rifle wise. So that to me is a poor way of designing the game, making it possible to get that weapon that easily. I think a way they could have fixed that was maybe potentially making locks on each zone, but I understand they wanted to create a huge open world, which is a huge bonus point, a huge positive for this game. but maybe making the reward for completing that base the weapon. So you have to complete the base, and maybe you have a certain time requirement. That's one way to fix this without implementing a loot-based system, or you kind of go the Divisions route with the loot-based system. I personally thought this game in the beginning might have that loot-based system, and I was excited for it because I thought that was actually the Division's, one of the Division's strong points was that it had this loot-based system, and that was really its main driving force of it being replayable. The missions in the Division were kind of old and repetitive, but in Bolivia, in Ghost Recon Wildlands, there are so many different missions that it makes it really, really replayable if you have that loot-based system. But there's no reason to go back to those bases if you already have the things there, because one, there's no like score timer or anything that keeps score of how well you did in that base to compete against other people worldwide. And if you already have everything there and there's no loot-based system, there's no point to go back there, which makes it difficult to replay. So personally, that's a huge shortfall for the game.
Okay. You mentioned this in your general thoughts, and you touched upon how the Division has repetitive missions. You talked about the side missions being repetitive in this game, and I want to know what you think kind of more about the main mission, because at least for the first few areas that we've played through, I feel like there's a good diversity.
Absolutely.
But also, there's always like that same intel gathering mission.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to know if you think the variety is strong enough, like for the game to keep going, or if you think they should have added more variety.
I think from my experience so far, the variety is actually really strong, and the variety in the main missions. The side missions do get repetitive, but I understand because the world is so huge and they didn't want it to feel too empty. At times it can, but they filled it with some of those side missions, which is understandable. But some of these more like kind of quest line missions, you could call them, they kind of lead and tie into the whole
to killing the cartel bosses.
Yeah, taking down the cartel and weakening them. Those missions are very diverse. Each mission that we've done has a completely different premise. You get some story behind why you're doing it, and there's different ways that you have to approach the mission. Sometimes you can't be detected and you're trying to place bugs in one of the drug lords or cartel leaders' house, or like a party pad that they have. I remember we went in and you had the drone and you were watching where one of the guys, one of the cartel members was standing and making sure that he didn't see me, and I was creeping in and placing the bugs in different areas in the house. And we did that once, and we hadn't done something similar to that again, and I like that because it is diverse and you can't expect to go into 2 missions and doing the same thing. That's a strong point for the game. I think they definitely earn credit for that.
Okay. So, I have the game for PC and for Xbox. I got the, for free on PC. That's why I have it on both. And I've actually played through a good chunk of the game, single player wise.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how much of the game have you done single player, and what do you think the biggest differences between the two? Because I'll say real quick that, like, I think personally playing through the game sneaking, I think the game's easier playing through single player.
It is.
Sneaking's easier. Your AI teammates are dumb, and at the same time they're incredibly useful, because if you go down for some reason, they kill everybody and they pick you up.
And not only that, not only do they only go loud when you want them to, or they open fire when you want them to, but they don't get detected.
Yeah, that is a big thing. For some reason, I've seen them kill people and then they would get detected.
I've seen the very first mission I did, like the very first one, even the first one in the beta. It's the first mission of the game. And the guy that I'm trying to target, the LT, is literally staring at my squad member or team member, and he's on the cell phone and he does nothing. He just walks past him. I'm like, okay, I see how that's going to be. So single player, it is easier to play as, but it's not as fun. The game is really meant to play and communicate and cooperate with teammates. I have played a good amount of, I've actually played more of the game and finished more of the game single player wise than cooperatively. And that actually got me somewhat turned off from the game when I kept playing it, single player wise, because you don't create those memorable experiences that you can share and discuss later, and you don't kind of build that chemistry as a team. And this game is great for that, and it has a lot of staying power when you are working together as kind of a fire team. But when you're playing by yourself, you know, you're playing with AI who kind of, you know, break the laws of
The game.
And so it's almost like, you know, it makes it easier to play on extreme, but with that, it's just not as fun. You don't have as much of a memorable experience as you would playing with you know, your friends.
Gotcha. All right, so my last question for you is, why have you not finished the game, and why do you feel ready to review it without finishing it?
Okay. So I haven't finished it because I don't want to keep playing the game and experience all of those awesome endeavors and those missions without fire team members and having at least one other person or two other people to go through those with, because that's when you make those memorable experiences with this game. However, because of its repetitiveness in some areas and the lack of a loot-based reward system, and which I didn't mention, but one of my friends actually, when the game first released, was able to purchase all of the sniper rifles, so he had access to the best sniper rifle, and he purchased all the attachments and accessories for that sniper rifle in the first day, and he paid $35 for it. Ubisoft did that to him. He was tempted by Ubisoft. And so anyways, that obviously was his decision, and I don't agree with it, because that for me ruins the game. But it not only was he able to do that, I was almost able to do the same thing without paying, because I could just fly a helicopter in and grab an attachment or an accessory or a weapon without having to fight anybody there and work for it. I just had to be somewhat clever, but that cleverness runs out when you're doing the same thing to get the best weapons. So I really wish that's why I feel ready to review it, because I can get the best weapons in the game right now if I just take the time to go search online where it is and go fly and get it with a helicopter and just pick it up. And so that's why I feel ready for it. But those experiences that we have playing through those missions is going to be different between different people, and that's not something that everybody will have the same experience for. The things that are going to be the same are, you know, the repetitiveness of some of the side missions, the fact that you can gain access to all those weapons at once and whenever you want, but also how beautiful and open of a world this is and how massive it is. Like, I don't think the game gets enough credit, but this game is absolutely enormous, and you could spend a lot of time just flying around, and it's beautiful. And it looked beautiful on your computer, and it still looks amazing on the Xbox. So for those reasons, it's a great game. But I've seen that, and I've already seen that, and that's why I feel comfortable reviewing it now. And that's why I feel like I'm able to give it a score without finishing it. But I do have every intention of finishing this game, and I really hope they do find a way to implement some sort of a loot-based system or some way to create some more replayability. And if they do, I think it would increase my score.
All right, so my final question for you is, it's a two-parter. What is your final score? And if the ending of the game changes your mind, will we see an update on the review?
Absolutely, there will be an update if the ending game, if it's so powerful and has so much staying power with me and the story is so incredible and I haven't experienced it yet, then I'll absolutely upload a kind of updated review of it, and it will be a lot shorter, but it'll just review kind of the story missions in the campaign. But as of right now, I would have to give the game a 7.5 because of those reasons I stated, of being able to access everything so easily and it not having that replayability like the Division did. But it improves where the Division made mistakes, and it improves it by a long shot. It makes a much more open and lively world that you can travel and traverse wherever and whenever you feel like, with a lot of interesting main story missions that I have even yet to experience. But for those reasons earlier mentioned about being able to get the best things in the game, that's why I would say that I give the game the review that I did and the score that I did.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here. It's Exotic Grunt Gaming. We'll be back. We'll bring you more reviews, more videos. See you guys next time.
Where did you fast travel to?
Obviously not the same spot. I'm coming to you now. Where are you exactly?